Joe, have you ever called a game quite like last Sunday?
I can't say that I've had, but we say, we talk every week. There's a way to win every game, and we went into it last week knowing that that was the blueprint. We thought that was the blueprint. We thought that was what we were going to have to do to win, and our guys did a great job of executing it and staying on the field on third down and converting it, and so we were able to do that. And so that's not to say the next time we play those guys, that's going to be what we're going to do, but. That's one thing we look in every week and we say, hey, how are we going to win this game? There's a way to win everyone, and it just so happened that it was that was the way, and the guys were able to execute it.
How tough was it to really dig down and because I guess it's to call that many run plays? I mean, you really have never had to do that before. So was it tough for you to do that at all, or?
No, it's not. It's not tough when you're having some success running the football too. It's it was the way that the game was going. I think it's a lot of times too when you're calling a game, it's you have to understand how the game's being played on the other side of the ball too. And so Coach Rule does a great job with the communication from that standpoint, and the way that our defense was playing. It was important for us to stay on the field. We had 3 drives, I think, over 15 plays. So when you're keeping your defense off the field, for that long, I think good things happen. So. It's not the easiest when you're having to call 15 plays in a row, to try to get the ball in the end zone. But the way that the guys were running the ball, the way that we were executing and getting to manageable third downs and having success, it was there's no reason to get away from it.
What did you take away from the way you all played on offense last game?
That the guys did a great job of executing and understanding, what it was going to take, seeing the wide receivers get involved in the run game. It's not one of those games, that's one of those games you're a receiver coach or a receiver that, it's hard. You want to get involved in the pass game, but, seeing them get, dirty in the run game. And, and then you watch our last touchdown, you watch the receivers celebrate, and, so it's, we were all in that together. It was a team victory. So you just learn that, we got guys that are way more concerned with winning than anything else. And so, it was fun to see them just take a plan and execute it. And no matter how pretty or what, at the end of the day, all that matters is us going 1-0. And
how do you call a game differently with PJ versus Sam?
Well, I think, depends. It depends, I think, going into it, your thought process going into it, and then sometimes it happens, it happens quickly, and you're in the red zone, and you got to kind of just figure it out from there. But we go into it when we have meetings the night before the game, and when we talk, and we have, they both have strengths, they both have things certain plays that they like more, and so, when you do go into it, there is adjustments that need to be made. But I feel confident. When PJ was in there, the first play I called was a speed option. If you go back to the Atlanta game last year, the first play was him taking a shot on a go route. So I feel confident when PJ is in there. So it's not one of those things that it's like you're sitting there scratching trying to find plays. There's a reason he's here, and so the game plan is one and the same.
I know Sam's limited this week, and you deferred to Matt on the injury front, but I guess what's the last possible moment that you could have Sam full that you feel confident to put him out there on Sunday?
Well, I think, look, all the way up through game time, you go back to the Houston game when it was a Thursday game, we didn't really get to practice that game. And so sometimes it's mental reps, sometimes it's, us just seeing, just painting a picture in the video. And so, obviously, we're going to see his status today and see, all the way up until game time. But, if he's out there, I'll feel confident with him being out there.
How impressed were you with the offensive line play Sunday?
I loved it. I loved that. They were consistent with it. They showed that there was physicality. They had they had finish to them, and so it was one of those games that it's one of those games that you just got to come, and there's a lot of bloody runs, and you're gonna you live with the 3-yard runs, the 4-yard runs, but it gets you into manageable third downs. And so I loved that their execution. I love that they responded from the first play of the game. We put the ball on the ground on the first play of the game, and you have a turnover to start the drive. And we did that 2 weeks ago too, and so. There was no heads down. It was just like, let's go back, get the ball back into Chuba's hands. Let's run the ball and start the next drive. And I love the way that those guys responded this past week.
Matt mentioned Amir brought Joel to the offense. What can you speak to his impact so far?
Well, like he's a pro's pro. He's a veteran. He's smart. I mean, he came in here, not sitting there and just trying to get a feel of things. He was like, hey, what can I do? How can I help this football team? Staying late, watching tape. And so, he's, and when the ball is in his hands, good things happen. And had a critical third down conversion on a choice route this past week. He makes plays, and so you can just feel him out there. You feel his energy out in practice. And so, we've been impressed with him so far, and he's been a huge help to our team.
Piggybacking off that, is there any time you recall, maybe through practice, watching him in practice or on film, that you were like, oh, he can really be something for us?
You're saying Amir? Yeah, I mean, look, I think we've been evaluating him the last couple of years. In the off seasons, and he's a guy that's kind of always been on our mind. He can make plays in the pass game and the run game. He's smart, understands protections, and so when you finally get him here, the New York Giants week, I met him the day before the game. So finally getting to actually see him do some things last week and actually come and practice with us and see how we can be utilized. He's definitely an asset to us.
How would you describe you used the term bloody run. What is a bloody run?
It's one of those runs where it's like you run it and it's 1st and 10 and now it's 2nd and 7 or it's 2nd and 8 and you have the natural tendency to sit there and say, hey, you know what? Hey, we're not moving the ball. But, a 3-yard run turns into a 6-yard run. And as the game goes on, you have enough, hoping that you can pop a big one. And so, they're the quote unquote not the prettiest runs. We all want, hey, it's 1st and 10 and we get an 8-yard run and we're in 2nd and 2. But in order to have sustained success running the football, you're going to have to live with, a 2-yard run, a 3-yard run. Those are good plays. Those are going to open up as the game goes on, especially in the fourth quarter. And so can't just get away from it.
Do linemen like those more than backs do?
I think anytime you run the football, a lineman's going to like that because they get an opportunity to be physical and be able to attack, from that standpoint. But I think if you ask any running back, hey, are you good with as long as the ball's in their hands, they're going to like the play. And so I think the way that our backs feel, they feel like if they get the ball, they're not going into it with the mindset it's going to be only a 2-yard run. And so I think if when we call a run play, the guys feel like we're going to be able to have success, and and they got to make the most of that.
Did you learn anything as a play caller in terms of discipline? You mentioned that those first half runs are only 2 or 3 yards, but by the fourth quarter you're leaning on the defense and they pop a little more. Did you learn some patience, and what is that like to experience?
Well, I mean, I think you learn every week, and I think the biggest thing is just trusting the game plan going into it. I think sometimes you can have a mindset of, hey, we're going to go into this game and we're going to try to establish this in the first half. We have to get in these manageable 3rd downs. We have to do this, and then you can go into halftime. And sometimes, emotions can probably take over, or you're trying to figure things out when it's like, hey, let's just continue trusting what we're doing. And so you don't have to try to reinvent the wheel or get away from it. We spend all week trying to put together a plan, and and sometimes those go completely a different way. But when it is executing, you got to trust in the process, trust in your preparation. And so when you get to halftime, it's like, hey guys, we had one drive in the 3rd quarter, it ended up being I think like a 12, 13 play drive or whatever it was. It's just like you got to just stick with it, and we got to just do a better job of converting when we get in the red zone.
Because of what you were planning to do and knowing going into it, did you have conversations with a guy like Robbie, for instance, preemptively and say, look, you may not get a bunch of targets today, but that sort of thing?
No, when we talk to the team, when we go over, hey, what the keys are and hey, how we think this game's going to be won, whether it's the night before the game or throughout the week, I think you have an idea and you have a perception, but at the end of the day, there's going to be 3rd downs. We're going to have to pass the ball. We're going to have to take the play actions. Eventually, you run the ball. The box gets tighter, and so I think they understood that it was going to be a game that it was going to take everybody in there. It was going to take Sam making the Mike IDs correctly. It was going to take the tight ends, the receivers blocking. But they also understood in order for us to run the ball, when you have more success running the ball, there's going to be more opportune, times in the pass game. And so there was no receiver in the room that was kind of sitting there like, oh man, this is going to be one of those games. I thought the guys came out there and they blocked and they were physical. And I think as the game went on, some of the play action passes definitely would have been there.
How difficult is New England to prepare for, knowing that you don't play them often and that their game plan is always changing depending on who their opponent is?
No, it's definitely not an easy task. He's obviously, Coach Belichick's, the best, if not the best to ever do it. And so, but you have to trust what you see. You have to trust your preparation. You have to understand the structures, and you're going to get some different things this week. But our guys have to understand and make the adjustments and trust. Go back to what we do well and understand that there's going to be 2-yard runs. There's going to be 3-yard runs. There's going to be opportunities, and we're going to have to make the most of it. And so, we say there's a way to win the game, and that's what we're going through right now, to trying to find that way. And obviously they're doing the same, and so it's going to be a great opportunity for us on Sunday.
Forgive me for not knowing this. Have you coached against them before?
I was a coaching assistant, so I have not. Yeah, I was just up in the box.
Do you have any background with Bill?
I do not.
So when Matt's yelling at PJ after that first and goal play. What are you saying from the press box?
You got to get ready for the next play. I think, one thing as a play caller is you don't really have a lot of time to sit there and you're calling a play with the mindset, hey, you call it, it's first and goal at the 2, first and goal at the 1. They were trying to figure out where the spot was at that situation, and it's like, hey, I got to get ready for the next play. And so while there's a lot going on in the headsets and maybe some not happy things, I'm trying to, God bless you, trying to figure out what we're going to do on the next play.
Knowing he'll take away your best thing, is it more of a chess match where you're thinking 1, 2, or 3 plays ahead with him than any other person you've played, or how's that work?
No, I think they obviously do an elite job at it, but I think most defensive coordinators and defensive coaches across football, I think that's their mindset going into the egg is, hey, what do these guys do well, and we have to find a way to stop it. And so, no, you think about it every week. You have to have that mindset and try to put those things together and try to have, but you also sometimes you can get caught up in trying to do too much. And so we have to trust our guys that our guys are going to make football plays and be able to put them in a position to have success. But knowing that that's how most defensive coordinators are having that mindset.
When he talks about PJ, it feels like he's always talking about mitigating risk and trying to get him to be mindful of not taking big chances. How fine a line is that to walk when that's also part of what PJ brings, is that ability to create?
Yeah, no, it is tough. We just like we preach to Sam, just like we preach to everybody, is he has to play within the system. We need him to be PJ, but he also has to understand, there's a time and a place to make some of these decisions. You're inside the 5-yard line. That's not an opportunity to kind of freelance. If it's not there, the ball's thrown away. If it's not there, we're running it. And so there's a time and a place where you need to extend the play. There's a time and a place to, that you need to be aggressive. You go back to the New York game, there's some opportunities where in that situation, you can try to be aggressive. You can try to extend it a little bit. But in that situation, you have to play within the system and understand that, hey, if that route's not there, I'm either running it or I'm, throwing it away.
Joe, if I could just ask you one more question about this. You said that you can feel Amir's energy on the practice field. When you say that, you mean he's like just going full force, he's happy, or can you paint that picture for me?
Yeah, he obviously loves playing football. That's easy to talk to him. But when he's out there, you feel him moving, you feel him running around with the ball in his hands. You see him as we played him a few weeks ago as a kick returner, and I think he returned it to like the 40 or the 50 or something like that. So when the ball's in his hands, good things happen, and so you feel that in practice, whether it's on the look team or whether he's going or whatever it was. But last week was the first time I got an opportunity to actually see him in person, and so seeing him, you kind of feel him a little bit, just feel his energy, his love for football, and how when the ball's in his hand, good things happen.
Did he impress you even more?
What's up?
More?
Yeah, when you see a guy live, you have an idea of what you think a guy. You try to paint a vision for him, and then it was fun to be able to get to utilize him in the game and him make some critical plays for us.
When you were watching that Senior Bowl tape from home, Mac Jones, what did you see from him during that time that kind of made an impression?
I think all elements of his game. I think he does at an extremely high level. I coming from the year that I was at LSU, seeing what Joe Burrow was able to do, and he took everything to the next level. So he was. You watch him on tape. He picked up the offense like that. He's extremely smart, hardworking, can make all the throws, tough as it gets, and he's like just all about football. And so, no surprise with the success he's having right now. That he's gonna be a great football player.
Well,
You've heard Matt Rule talk a little bit. We'll talk a lot about PJ's almost error in the red zone last week. Do you feel like he's not given as much grace as Darnold because of the smaller sample size, or?
No, I think no matter who the quarterback is, when you're in the red zone, the last thing you can do is put the ball in harm's way. So PJ knows that. That's nothing that, hey, you get an opportunity. If Sam was in that exact same situation, if James was in that exact same situation, we'd be saying the same things. And so I don't think it has anything to do with, hey, giving a little more leadway to one or the other. It's, hey, understand where we are and the situations in the game, and the only thing we couldn't do in that situation is turn the ball over.
Because of the success with Chuba and, as you just mentioned, Amir, have you and Matt had discussions about what this running game might look like when Christian comes back and trying to lighten his load?
Yeah, I think it's the fortunate thing that over the last few weeks, and I know the success, in the wins losses is really all that matters, but seeing Chuba, continue to get more and more comfortable, seeing Amir come on. Royce had some big runs this past week, and so, feeling comfortable with that running back room. That, as unfortunate it is that Christian hasn't been there, it's given the other guys an opportunity to show what they can do and show that they can play at this game at a high level. And so, whenever Christian is able to come back, being able to integrate them in there, so we're not having to rely on Christian as much. And so, whenever that is the case, we'll have to go through it and figure out, hey, how are we going to personnel this in terms of how many touches and whatnot. But those are all good problems to have whenever Christian is back.
A number that you think is too many touches for Christian?
I don't have an exact number or exact number worth putting out there, but no, those are communications and stuff that is discussed. Whenever he is out there, I mean, he's one of the best football players in football, and so you have to be mindful. The defense is mindful of him every time he's out there too. And so when he's out there, we're obviously a better football team, but you also have to be mindful of how much he is out there.
Do you think your perspective has changed since the injuries on that?
In terms of
Touches, the amount of touches.
Look, I think injuries happen. I think if you talk with Christian, I don't know if he'd say I got injured because of the touches. The only thing that changed from a perspective is the fact that we've had another opportunity to see some more of these guys, run the football and show that they can, be in protections, they can make plays in the pass game, they can run the football, and so it just gives you more confidence in that run game, in the running back room. But it hasn't really necessarily changed my perspective.
You have Christian kind of in this return to play like limbo. Do you create like a Christian plan or a without Christian plan? How difficult is that to navigate when preparing for a game?
Yeah, no, it is difficult. I mean, there was some, you go back to last year, there were some games that, you thought he was going to play, and then you find out on Friday and Saturday that he's not. And so you kind of, the perk of like kind of just talking about these guys is we've kind of prepared it for the mindset of, hey, everyone has to be ready to go. And so, what Amir was able to bring to us with Chuba and Royce. So we're kind of going into the mindset that I know he's limited, and if he can give us any plays on Sunday, it'll be better. Obviously it'll help us, but we're going to the mindset that, and I think it ends up being too much if you had too many game plans. And so, we know what Christian can do and what he can do, but we feel confident that if he's not out there, that these other guys are going to be able to take whatever those potential plays would have been, and they were going to have success with it.